Welcome back to Stacy So and So. Thank you for joining me again this week. So today's video is going to be the first in a new series or a new playlist that I'm going to be adding to my channel. That's going to be simply called Make, Do, and Mend, which is a concept I know you have heard me mention in my videos in the past, because I like to try to mend things and keep it in my wardrobe as long as I can, or refashion it, or flip it into something else. And again, it's just to keep it in my wardrobe longer, keep it out of the landfill, and in the long run, it saves me a little money. So I bought this book about a month ago, and this is, it says it's a reproduction of the official Second World War II instruction leaflets. These were instruction leaflets that were handed out during World War II in the UK. About, for Make, Do, and Mend, it covered more than just clothing. It talked about farm equipment, about, how to make meals on ration foods. It just covers a whole broad spectrum. But obviously here we're going to be focusing more on our fashion, our wardrobe, our clothing items, how to use invisible mending techniques so that when you mend something that is completely inconspicuous and no one would ever know, and you've just refreshed a garment, able to keep it in, your wardrobe for longer. And then I'll also include some, visible mending, because I think that has become more on trend, and it can add some pretty decorative elements to a garment that you already have. So we will also go over that. I will also be doing some videos on how to taking things out of your closet, or maybe something that you've picked up at a thrift store, and how to refashion or repurpose that item into something that you will wear and wear more frequently and keep longer in your wardrobe. I mean, in the United States right now, it's no secret that with the current tariff situation, particularly on China, a lot of the fast fashion, a lot of the inexpensive clothing that came from the United States, from like, Tian or Temu, however you say it, was imported from China. And now with the tariffs, those items are probably not going to be affordable for many anymore. And so I think it's more important to learn how to mend the things that we have, refashion the things that we have, and keep them in your wardrobe and keep some of that money in your pocket. So that's the purpose of this new playlist. I want to find a way to, in the current climate, to be helpful to others. And I want people to not feel like, oh, I just have to fix this because I can't afford anything else. There is some fun that can be had with, especially with visible mending and with repurposing and, taking items and flipping them. It is fun. Don't look at it as a chore. There are definitely some fun elements, and you get a sense of pride when you can do that. You feel good about it. I do anyway, and I hope that if you're watching this and you decide to follow this series, this playlist, I hope that you do too. So the question is, what is our first project? Okay, our first project is this ginormous navy blue t-shirt. And you may be asking yourself, why do you have a 3X t-shirt in your closet? It was an accident. I went to buy my husband a t-shirt that he can wear underneath his uniform that he wears at work. And I accidentally picked up the wrong size. This is a 3X. He does not wear a 3X. A 2X would have been fine, but this is like the biggest 3X I think I've ever seen. It was much too big for him, and I don't think it would have fit underneath his uniform. But because I hadn't paid attention and I really thought I had picked up the correct size, I threw away the receipt. So now I'm stuck with this shirt. I thought, what am I going to do with it? As opposed to just letting it languish around in a drawer somewhere, I have decided that I'm going to turn this rather large t-shirt into a cute little summer tunic. Now, I will also talk about some options on if you want to take it from a tunic to a cute little summer dress using other t-shirts or materials that you already have in your stash or that you can acquire inexpensively. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get started. Okay, so number one, try it on. As you can see, it is quite big, particularly underneath the arms. So, and I am not a fan, of course, of necks that come up this high. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to cut this out, make a channel, and put elastic in it, because it would be nice to be able to pull it off the shoulder a little bit when it's really hot. This is going to have to definitely come in. So, but I want to leave some of this volume because I do want to do like elastic through here, so it kind of has like a little peplum. So there's just some thoughts. The one thing I did already do is there was a pocket, a breast pocket, and I very, very gently picked that off, and you can't even tell. So, all right, so here's the blank slate that we're starting with. Okay, so after trying the shirt on, I decided that for the neck, for now, I may adjust it, but we're going to start going down about 5 inches, which is where I have put this chalk line. And then it'll be going over about, I have this chalk line at 8 inches. I'm starting small. If I need to cut it more, I will. But jersey stretches, so I want to make sure that I don't cut it too big too fast because it might not be able to recover from that. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the neckline. And with it folded in half, this makes it a lot easier so that way both sides match up evenly. So we're going to cut here and we're just going to eyeball it as we start to curve towards the chalk line out at 8 inches. All right. So there's how much we cut off. Let's see how we look. Yeah, I think that's going to be good because we are going to be, or I'm going to be turning this under about a 1/2 inch to create a channel. There we go. And then I'll be feeding elastic through it. So I think this is going to be good. The next thing I need to do, and I will do this by probably cutting it in half, well, or folding it in half. The arms are definitely too big. Now I do have a plan on what I want the arms to look like, but I'm thinking I'm going to end up cutting about here and angling up about this far. So that would be, I start here. Let's see, let's mark up about, let's start at 1 inch. There we go. Okay. So that's about 7.5 inches, although I think I'm going to need to bring it down just a little bit. Let's measure up from here about, came up 1 inch. And we're going to see how it goes at 4.5. Because I do want to leave some volume to the sleeve because I am going to make like a puff sleeve, short, puffier sleeve. So I'm going to try it on again and just see how this would work. I want to just, I'll pin that on. I'll just be careful of taking it on and off. And if that seems to be good, then I will go straight from here. I'll just curve in, and I am going to shape it just a little bit. Because I don't necessarily need this, I don't want it as wide as it is. So I will probably come down to about just under my bust line and then start curving it out. Because remember, I am going to be adding elastic about a couple inches below or an inch below the bust line so that this kind of flares out a little bit. All right, so let me go try this on again. Okay, so I tried it on again, and I actually guessed correctly or estimated correctly for how far up this needs to come and where I need to start. And then from there, I actually had to go over the seam, which is going to be okay, and then angle it down, because this shirt doesn't actually have side seams, but it's going to when I'm done with it. So I'm going to cut from here to here and then all the way down. Then we'll start. I will go ahead and seam. Well, I'll tell you what, one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to seam up the hem that it currently has, because that's going to be the perfect size for me to feed the elastic through. So once I get the elastic in, then I'll close up the very end of where the hem is on the shirt. That way I don't have to worry about doing another channel like I am around the neck or casing. Okay, so I got the side cut open, and you can see this is where I had drawn that extra line heading up into the sleeve. I think I'm going to go ahead and sew all the sides together. I'm going to leave that line there because I think all I really need to do, as opposed to cutting this off and then reattaching the sleeve, which is what I would have had to do if I had just continued to cut, which wouldn't have been bad. But I think once I do that, once I get it sewn together, all I will have to do is just take it up from underneath and just pin and sew, just hem up that seam a little bit on both sides. So, but we're going to see. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this inside out. Shaping down the side definitely helped. So now I am going to make sure that I line everything up again. I'm not going to sew this hem closed until after I add the elastic. So I'm going to put a red pin right there, because for me, red means stop. That'll tell me don't go there. I'm going to line everything up and sew it, close the sleeve, and then sew down both sides. And then we'll focus on adding the channel for the elastic around the neck. And I'll go ahead and feed some elastic through here. But first, let's get the sleeve and the sides sewn back together. Okay, so you can see this fits much better. It's got decent shape to it. And I don't think I'm actually going to have to take up that seam. Once I put the elastic in, I think it's going to be fine. It's not going to be a super puffy sleeve, which is good because I didn't want it like super big. So now I just need to make that casing, which will pull this up a little bit higher all the way around, add the elastic, and then let me grab a pin. I'm thinking once the casing's in, which is gonna, again, it's gonna pull it up just a little bit. I think I want to put the elastic like right about here, so it's sort of an umpire waist. I think that'll be good. And then it doesn't fit super, well, it's close to the body, but not super tight, which is good. Right now it's getting kind of stuck on my jeans, but I'll be mainly wearing this with, these jeans are a little bit larger, but I'll be wearing them probably with leggings and, yeah, probably with just leggings. Okay. So far so good. Let me get the elastic put in the neck and in the sleeves, and then we'll work on getting the elastic put right around here. But so far so good. Okay. Got the neck, the casing around the neck sewn in. And so now all I have to determine is how much elastic I need to add to it. And the way I do that, sometimes I just grab the roll of elastic and just kind of wrap it around my shoulders where I want it to hit and just kind of feel what's too tight and what's not. But you can also do it with tape measure. So let's see. Oops, it twisted. We don't want it twisted. Let's try that again. It's always more challenging measuring yourself. Okay. There we go. Okay. So that is about 45 and a half. So we'll take it down probably to about 42 and a half, 43. I want it, obviously, elastic. You want it to cinch up a little bit, but you don't want it to be so tight that it just constantly pops up and down off your shoulders. So I'm going to add that next. Now, let me catch you up a little bit on when I cut this off and sewed all around, you know, the arm and then down the side. I sewed everything at 5/8 of an inch. And yes, I made sure to change over to a jersey needle, which if you're sewing any kind of jersey, you definitely want to do that, or a ballpoint needle. Sometimes they will say ballpoint on the package. If you're going to sew with jersey, definitely do it. Otherwise, it gets, you know, the fabric gets pushed down and bogged down into your machine, and it is tedious to get it loose. So, but there's the other side. We've got that done. And remember, I left this open because the hem that was already on here is perfect as an elastic casing. So let me cut some elastic, get it fed through, and attach it, and then I'll try it on one more time to make a final decision on where I want the elastic around. I know I want it kind of like an umpire height, so I want to test one more time, try it one more time and look at it with the elastic around the neck being done, because I think that will make a difference. I turned it up on the neck about 1/2 inch, so I'm sure that will I took the pin out that I initially put in because I'm sure that that will make a difference in where I want that to hit. So, all right, time for elastic. Okay, so the sleeves are exactly what I was wanting. I kind of like that they come to the elbow. I thought about making them a little shorter, but I kind of like that length on me. And they're the perfect size. Because again, I didn't want like big bouncy sleeves. The neckline, nice and open. Now, I did end up, remember I had measured all the way around, like my shoulders came out to about 45. My elastic was really, really stretchy. So I ended up cutting down my elastic to about 34 inches. And that allowed for some overlap for me to stitch it in 2 places so that it's nice and secure. So now, from the side, from the back. So now I just need to decide. Let me grab a pin. And again, try to determine where I want, because it'll give just a little bit more shape if I do a little elastic right here. And I think I want to do it like, let's see. That might be too close underneath the butt. Well, yeah, I think right about there. Okay, so what I will do is measure a piece of elastic to go all the way around. I'll turn this inside out, and I will stretch the elastic as I go so that it gets with the, so it attaches to the fabric and it will bunch up to the, you know, to the right shape, the right side. See the difference? Like when I pull that in, there we go. You get a much nicer shape than if I do this. It just kind of hangs. Not that, although it's not bad. In fact, if you didn't want to do elastic, you could make a little tie to go all the way around. That would also be cute. I could always add that later if I want to. All right. And our basic tunic is complete. So all I did last step was to add the elastic. This comes down exactly where I want it to, below the bust line. When adding the elastic, all I did was I stretched out the elastic just a little bit, used a straight stitch, and just sewed it all the way around. Lay it back out. There we go. Now, we did talk about, now this, like I said, this is tunic length. So on me, it's pretty short. If you wanted to make this a dress, if you have some leftover jersey, or, you know, this strip actually was on the bottom of, this was the bottom piece, I believe, of another t-shirt that I upcycled. So let's talk about if you want to lengthen it and you want to add some other color, because maybe you don't want just, you know, one solid color. Things that you can do. And I do recommend, you can do it after you've added the elastic, but it's easier if you hold off on that step with about what I'm about to tell you. Let's say that you want to add some color and you just want to make it easy and you want to add it to the bottom. Take your strip. You're going to sew right sides together like this. Let's get this lined up. Then once you sew right sides together, you will press it down. There we go. And you can make that, of course, that as wide or as narrow as you want. You could add more color if you want. Once you get to, you know, the bottom, say this is all you're going to add, just give that a little hem. And you can, like I said, lengthen your dress. Now, say you don't want it at the bottom. This part I definitely recommend doing before you add the elastic. Although you could do it after, it might be a little bit more tedious, but it can be done. Let's say you decide you want the stripe like right about here. So we'll just lay this out right here. Let's say you want to have a stripe. Once you figure out where you want your color block to be, you're going to cut the shirt, sew right sides together, then take the bottom piece that you cut off, sew it right sides together, then just give it a really good press. Might not be a bad idea to even give it a little top stitch. And again, you can add as many colors as you want and make it as long as you want. So another reason to hold on, if you have decent size pieces left over like this, that's why I like to hold on to them. Now, the other thing you can do, because I mentioned this a little bit ago, whether you add the elastic or if you decide, you could sew it up in a tube like this. If you don't want to do the elastic and it's pretty close, you know, this still fits kind of close to the body, you could sew that on and just use it as a tie in the back. You can do that before or after and just add a cute little belt to it just for an additional pop of color. So now it's time for me to go try this on so you can see how it fits. Are you ready for the reveal? I'm really happy with the way it fits and it's so comfortable. I see myself wearing this so much during the warmer months. All right, here we go. There we go. I love the way it fits. You get a nice shape. Here's the elastic. Get a nice shape. Plenty of room down here so you don't feel like it's clinging all around. Here's the back. From the side. The front. Now if I want to wear it off the shoulders, because the way I cut the neck, there we go. And it does stay, which is nice. Perfect for super hot summers. I think I'm going to make another one of these. And I think I'm going to add, because you can see it comes down to about mid-thigh for me, which is a little too short for a dress. But I think if I add a section of fabric, it'll be perfect. You know what? This might make the perfect little black dress too, just because of the shape. So thank you for joining me again this week. I hope that you enjoyed the first video of the Make, Do, and Mend playlist that I'm creating. This was definitely a way to make do with something that I had in my closet that I was not going to wear. And now I will. So I have definitely made do with what I had to create, refashion, and create something that I love and that I know I'm going to get a lot of use of over the summer and probably into early fall because it stays warm here for so long. In fact, this is so comfortable and I like it so much. I really like the shape on me. I feel very confident and comfortable in it. I think I am going to make a little black dress version. I think the only thing I might do though is I might make the sleeves a little bit shorter since I'll be wearing it in the summer months. You know, dark colors tend to absorb heat, but I thought this would be really cute as a little black dress to wear for summer that you can just slip on with a little pair of sandals and then, you know, wear out to dinner or church or, you know, anytime you need something a little bit nicer than just a t-shirt because this is no longer just a t-shirt. I think and I'd also like to have one in white just I like to have basics that I can mix and match with everything. So I think a basic white one would be nice. And if I go to the thrift store and I happen to come across like I'd like to find like a printed material, like a printed like pattern on a t-shirt and try it with that as either a tunic or a dress. So we'll just have to see if the thrifting gods are on my side. So thank you again. I'm so glad you were here, that you've joined me. I will be back again next week. I will probably be doing another make and do mend video to add to the playlist. So until then, happy sewing.